The HydroFluorons of Kraken by Neil A. Hogan, Captain Dravo Catalyn, Knight Commander of the Interstellar Trade Negotiation Table, was unceremoniously thrown against the wall as his interplanetary Legion star shuttle was struck from the right side.
Fields!
He yelled shakenly. The AI reacted immediately, and he felt the low vibration of repulsion fields activate, surrounding his ship in a torus of protective energy. He quickly crossed the wide cabin, skirted the ornate wooden meeting table, stomped back to his seat, buckled himself in, then tapped his artificial left ear for updates. Nothing.
AI. What is going on? Is someone using our space lane?
Another sudden jolt, and Dravo was thrown around in his seat. More angry than fearful, he yelled,
AI.
There was a flash and a crackle of static, and then a voice came online.
Analyzing. Captain, analysis confirms nanometeor strike near the cabin entrance. Microbot repairs in process. Sending the update to your interface now.
Schematics opened within Dravo's mind screen, with a flashing light indicating the position of structural damage.
But there haven't been micrometeors detected in this area of space since the drone sweepers became active. Where has this come from?
He looked in amazement as more of the specks began sweeping past him, their paths being repelled by his shuttle's field.
Analyzing. Interdimensional conduit. Coordinates 58 0 468 488 4.
Interdimensional. Conduit. Dravo ignored the rest of the message, excitedly widening his mind screen to scan the surrounding area.
Come on, Wormy. Where are you?
Still nothing. The tier between universes must be somewhere.
Widen scanning spectrum to extreme limits, then convert to visible wavelengths.
The image in his head flickered for a moment, and suddenly it was there, glowing purple, X-rays spraying outward from a tunnel-like tear in space-time. It was not far from his ship. For a moment he simply stared at it. It was a perfect sphere, the toroidal vortices swirling on its surface in Fibonacci spirals. He took a breath as he realized the enormity of this. The nearest stable wormhole was several parsecs away, and now here was one, just a few million kilometers from Earth. It was like a mine of gold had just opened near him. He couldn't believe his luck. But then, as he stared at its perfectness, he realized that there was no way this could be natural. As a knight of the negotiation table, he had procedures to perform before he could begin counting the profits. The most important thing was it safe? Flying into an antimatter universe wasn't one of the impossible things he had planned for before breakfast that morning.
AI integrity of strike matter.
Analysis confirms matter is relatively compatible with our universe.
Dravo couldn't help but grin.
Excellent. Follow Space Council Investigation Protocol 47. Match our spin to the wormhole's turbulence.
Yes.
Dravo gripped his seat as he felt the familiar pull from all directions as electromagnetic fields began to spin the shuttle along its length. As the spin hit the correct rotation speed and the rear EM blasters fired, he was buried into his seat as his little ship shot forward like a bullet into the wormhole. It had been a while since he'd been through one, and he vaguely remembered how confusing it was. The wormhole was like an ocean vortex, the waves of energy wanting to dump him again and again. But he knew it wouldn't be for long. A brief moment of disorientation, and then he was through, the spin slowing down as he exited the tear. Through his front screen, not far from the wormhole opening, was a binary planet system, completely lifeless with obvious signs of volcanic activity. If that wormhole was made by someone, they didn't come from here. Unless it was disguised. He quickly added a filter, the view screen blurred for a moment, and then reality came into focus. A yellow planet, orbited by 3 metallic moons, lit by a red sun.
AI, please advise if the wormhole is likely to close any time soon.
Analyzing.
Then he noticed the view screen joins in front of him. They had begun to shimmer slightly. For a moment he thought it might be the after effects of traveling through the vortex, but then he realized his personal frequency had increased. He moved one of his hands to the front of his face and distinctly saw multiple hands, as though the infinite universes that make up each Planck's second movement were skipping frames in this reality.
Interdimensional access route remains stable,
said the AI, though her voice was slightly unclear, as though underwater. His wavering hand and the slight glow of his ship was starting to give him a headache. Nausea had also begun to hit him, and he released his belt and got up, heading for the far side of the interior. A short walk might help, though, if he didn't adjust soon. He'd have to head back and send someone else. After a few steps, he began to feel a bit better.
AI compare Higgs field signature for both universes.
Discrepancy between universes too small for this unit to calculate accurately. However, difference detected.
Trade might still be possible then.
Yes.
He had to focus. He pressed a button on his med sleeve, feeling the stimulant pour into his veins, and moments later his focus increased enough that the glow became part of the background. Now, he had to get ready. The first thing to do was call up the protocols for first contact, then relationship agreements, then trade negotiation. The last time he'd had the opportunity to start from the beginning was over a year ago. Usually he came in at stage 3. He pulled himself inwardly to view his mind screen, and was dismayed to find that it was blank and unresponsive. No wonder the AI was having trouble communicating. It was using the secondary and a lot more rudimentary digital communication system. He'd have to remember to stay in range. He sighed. Without his mind screen, he had no access to the protocols, and he'd have to improvise. As the initiator, he'd be liable for any mistakes. He just hoped those mistakes wouldn't end up in a war they couldn't possibly win.
AI continued to monitor the tear. Life signs on the planet.
Step 5. Civilization detected. Communication wavelengths analyzed. Similar language to one surviving document from Earth history. The Voynich manuscript. Extrapolating. Sending message.
Dravo rubbed his eyes. The Voynich manuscript. He remembered that from school. Those papers were thought to have been channeled. Perhaps this was where the information originated from. Though, apart from the language, a document from 700 years ago about alien plants would have little relevance for both their planets now. Still, a Step 5 contact meant they could have a lot of technology Space Council would want to add to its collections.
Can you connect to anyone?
Representatives arriving.
What? Where?
Pilot seat vicinity.
Dravo quickly ran to the back of the room, just as 3 figures began to materialize on the other side of the table near his chair. He straightened himself up, trying to remember the words for first contact diplomacy, when a solid green force shield slammed between him and them. And, he frowned ruefully, between him and every manual control. The green shield blurred the aliens, but he could make out willowy shapes, multiple arms and elongated bodies, a slightly curved back, a number of things growing from all sides, almost like a tree, and a glistening of their yellow skin.
Warning.
Said the AI.
Dangerous chemicals detected on the bridge. Microbot cleaners arriving.
No. AI, stop. These beings may contain those chemicals. Wait until after our meeting.
Yes.
Dravo raised his eyes briefly. When were they going to update the AI to not consider almost every alien a threat? Many have had something a bit physically dangerous about them. He smiled, remembering one of their recent encounters with heavily spiked aliens. The AI had to be told they weren't carrying hundreds of swords. Even so, if these aliens contained dangerous chemicals, he couldn't shake their hand. Perhaps he couldn't even breathe the same air. And then the thought dawned on him that he had just a tiny sliver of energy between him and certain death. An echoing, wispy voice floated through the force shield.
You! Why? Restrict! Why? Help!
Welcome to my ship.
He said, shaking a little, as the precariousness of his situation struck him. He had to be professional.
I represent an organization known as Space Council, a trade business associated with the planetary consortium in my star system. I come in peace.
He hoped the AI and the aliens' language systems could cope.
Language, analyze, syntax, suffix, conjunctions, nouns, peace.
Not enough for trading communications.
AI open the conduit for the public database via hologram. Give access to our visitors.
Yes.
Said the AI, and a hologrammatic screen appeared in front of the aliens with an arrow. Instinctively they knew to swipe it. Dravo could see, through the swirls of the barrier energy, that visitors had holes in their upper body. They pushed their bodies towards the screen, and he assumed their, for want of a better word, shoulders were where their eyes were. So perhaps that lump on what looked to be their neck was just their mouth. No wonder their backs were curved.
Integrating language. Absorbing information. Barrier is for your protection, not our restriction. Interesting.
Thank you. I am here to find out if both our civilizations might have something to trade.
Dravo began to relax. Once the language barrier was out of the way, things usually, in his experience, moved forward smoothly.
We have analyzed your systems and believe you have nothing to trade with us besides tourism.
Dravo frowned. If these beings were dangerous to him, how could they visit their world without killing everyone?
I'm not sure about that. We'd need to create special habitats for your kind. You would need to wear special suits as the AI has ascertained that you have a chemical in your body that is dangerous to us.
Just then, the figures seemed to start shaking and moving erratically.
Reduce temperature.
Sorry?
Immediate request. Reduce temperature.
AI dropped the temperature to 0 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
Dravo remained outwardly calm, but he didn't want to have the deaths of 3 potential business partners on his conscience. He didn't want to freeze to death either. These negotiations would have to be sped up.
AI advise chemical composition of our visitors.
Systems detect some similarities to humans. Differences include 65% hydrogen instead of oxygen and 18% hydrogen fluoride instead of carbon.
Dravo's mouth fell open in surprise, then he shuddered in fear. If that barrier hadn't gone up, he would have already started dying without even realizing it.
Visitors, I welcome you, but our race and yours can never touch. Hydrogen fluoride in our presence becomes hydrofluoric acid, which can burn skin and damage nerves. In greater quantities will kill us within hours.
The figures remained silent, still shaking. Were they all right?
I have reduced the temperature to that of ice. Do you need it to be lower?
The figures stopped moving erratically as the temperature in their area became cooler.
Solid water temperature is acceptable. We will discuss with our population how we may be able to visit your world safely.
We will also do what we can to make this happen. I'm sure our scientists can find a safe way for you to visit, and then we can talk about ways to, perhaps, trade for your technology.
With a flash, the aliens disappeared again, and Dravo breathed a sigh. No deals yet.
AI, how long before the area is clean enough to be safe for me?
Expelling air. Microbot systems rebuilding hydrogen fluoride, hydrofluoric acid, and hydrogen gas into safe equivalents. Approximately 1 hour.
Dravo slid down the back wall, gasping heavily as his stimulant began to wear off.
Let me know when everything is safe and we'll head back. I think I need a nap.
Yes.
With his body struggling with fatigue from adjusting to the new reality, not to mention having skipped breakfast, sleep quickly claimed him.
Night, Commander. Cleaning is complete.
Dravo looked about groggily.
Set course for the tear. Send a message to Space Council when we're through.
He struggled to his feet as the green energy barrier came down and made his way back to the pilot seat.
Entering the tear. Alert. Data record from visitors received.
Dravo rushed to the screen at the front and put his hand on it.
Activate physical interface.
Instead of his mind screen activating, the physical interface allowed for information to be downloaded directly to his dream centers. The images and information quickly flashed before him like a daydream. There was so much it would take him years to analyze, but he knew he only had seconds before they entered the tear, and there was every chance the information would be unreadable on the other side. He already had a name for the planet. The closest approximation in English could be Kraken 7.
Hurry. Latest tech, please,
he muttered, quickly flicking through the images. Briefly he caught the schematic for how the tear was opened, held open, and could be closed, before the database simply faded away. A brief moment of uneasiness, and Dravo was back in his own reality. He sighed as his mind screen came back online, and he quickly stored what he had been able to interpret. His memories of the situation were already starting to disappear, as even his own neurons were struggling to keep the information. Trade was going to be harder than he thought. 12 gowned representatives of the Space Council stood in a circle behind intricately sculptured podiums representing their specific space forces and general responsibilities. Above them, a domed roof reflected images of their individual crests. Dravo noted, with some amusement, that the boxes of the AIS were draped with black sheets to fit in with the other black-gowned figures. He didn't know any of them, and hadn't expected to. For fair trade, no one was in this position for more than a day, and most got a day's notice anyway. They were like the old juries of decades ago, randomly chosen based on location only. He was surprised to see a lot more transhumans and AIS in the group. He supposed that since the Being Rights Agreement of 2118, Just about any being could be a Space Council rep. Dravo strode to the center and spun slowly, looking into each of the delegates' faces, then launched into his speech.
Honored beings of the Space Council, I confirm that I have made contact with a race of hydrogen fluoride beings on the other side of Anomaly 47 Epsilon. I can also confirm a planet name translation of Kraken 7, and that they are a Step 5 civilization with much to offer.
We have absorbed your report,
Said a metallic-looking transhuman being from Earth Sector 13, with green streaks in her otherwise silvery brown skin that suggested she was taking part in the chloroplast trend.
We would be interested in allowing tourism and finding how far we can take this relationship.
As would we.
Said one of the AI boxes.
These beings are from a higher level universe to ours, and their presence would be helpful in raising the vibrational level of all beings in this sector.
I object.
Said a tall, reddish human from the Mars quadrant. A Marth.
You metallic beings have no concept of the damage HF can do to humans. An interdimensional busload of these creatures could kill a city within hours, just taking pictures of themselves.
Terraforming has barely begun on Mars.
Interjected another AI box.
I calculate your response is influenced by fear. Even if this council eventually decides they cannot visit Earth, there is no reason at all for them not to visit Mars. You are all perfectly safe in your envirosuits.
My objection is not based on fear.
Said the Marth.
We are a polite species, and visitors must be welcomed into our homes as part of our culture and customs. We cannot be polite to these creatures, and that would cause some dismay in our peaceful society.
I have just downloaded Marth Culture.
Responded the AI.
I agree with your reasoning.
While I would entertain the idea,
Said a greenish GM humanoid from one of the newly reclaimed landmasses on Earth's equator.
if these creatures are hydrofluoric acid based, then they can only exist in our colder areas. On Earth, tourism can be restricted to Scandaland and Sibiraska, as well as some of our colder, uninhabitable moons in the solar system. I'm sure they would enjoy visiting Deimos and Phobos.
The human who objected grumbled.
The big question,
Said Dravo.
is what do we want in return? I was only able to get a little of their knowledge recorded before I lost it due to the quantum signature variation. Scientists are working on stepping it down to read it in our reality, but it may take some time. Even so, the tear was created by them. If we had that technology, we could travel to any parallel universe in the multiverse. I think that might be worth the risk.
I think the bigger question
Said a human female with long black hair representing Chinesia.
is, what do you want? Interplanetary trade hasn't been that big for Bio since we turned almost everything over to the Metoids.
Dravo had known that this question would come and had a prepared answer.
I follow my heart. I think we should make an effort. And if this opens up new ways of trade between other alien dimensions in the long run, then perhaps something will appear that I'd like to have. Though at this time I am just happy to serve the Space Council.
The 12 was silent, accepting his reply. Dravo continued.
I think the potential benefits far outweigh the risks. Let's start on this, and we can always stop it at any time if it doesn't work. The information they sent also included a way to close that hole from our side as a sign of mutual trust.
This is a very good point,
Said an orange humanoid towards the right of Dravo, one of the founders of the Venus Sky Cities.
They are willing to show mutual trust. They are interested in us for interest's sake, and the technology they may have available will open up many new opportunities for everyone in this star system. I vote we begin negotiations as soon as possible.
The 12's podiums all lit up with greens and reds. Dravo could quickly see that there were definitely more greens. He could begin the trade with authority.
Please return to their star system immediately and commence negotiations.
Said the first AI.
Advise that they are welcome to send a small group of representatives to be the first of their kind to explore our colder regions. This will be the first step. We will have doctors, engineers, linguists, and tour guides available to make sure they remain safe and comfortable. The Space Council will remain fully liable for any problems that may occur during this initial phase, and 1 trillion credits have been allocated to this investment.
Dravo bowed to the AI.
Thank you. I will leave at once.
There were other things covered by the 12, and some discussion between them, but Dravo's mind was now elsewhere. Convincing Space Council was the hard bit, and it turned out to be surprisingly easy. Now he had to speak again with aliens that could kill him by shaking his hand. This time, he would be prepared. The meeting room on his ship had been enlarged further, and the oval wooden table and many of the chairs had been removed. A long bench had been set up with a number of items from various industries on Earth. Everything from toys to communication devices to Vegemite. What couldn't fit was available via arrow-swipe holographic panels. It was like packing an entire museum into a 100 square meter space. As a precursor, he had already returned their initial favor and sent them petabytes of information on his race. The second time through the wormhole hadn't been as bad as the first, and he'd been given some more specific coping drugs so that the world around him didn't blur and cause nausea when he turned too fast. Even so, it still felt like he was walking through water. No meeting had been scheduled, but he was sure that someone would appear within moments of his arrival. Dravo tapped his metal-encased foot on the hard floor. The bubble helmet was good, but his nervousness was making him feel a bit short of breath in his higher oxygen spacesuit. Or it might be that he was just scared. Even though his suit was safe, if they wanted to, they could grab him and pull off his helmet. And then,
You fear us.
said one of the 2 yellow aliens as they materialized in front of him.
Fear is not good for trade.
As this was the first time he'd seen them up close, and without a shimmering force field between them, he was surprised at how frightening they looked. Their mouths seemed to undulate when they spoke, and looked more like a long sucker than a jaw. Their eyes, just below the shoulders, were more like the multiple eyes of an insect. The branches that shook around their torso continued to drip their yellow slime, and Dravo shuddered at the idea of them suddenly wanting to give him a hug. But he had to make this work. After all, humans have lived with dangerous creatures for millennia, and much of that in harmony.
I agree. But fear is simply an irrational response based on genetic traits inherited from my ancestors. I'm working on softening the physical effects now.
You have mind over body skills.
Said the other alien.
That is commendable.
Dravo had to get the conversation moving towards accessing the full technology for the space tear. They could discuss his physiognomy later.
Thank you. Right. We should begin. We should take I guess you would prefer to stand?
Standing is all we can do. Your chairs are not suitable for our body shape.
Yes, of course. Well, let me start by saying that, with regard to tourism, we believe our colder climate areas would be a great start for your people. We have some amazing views in the Alaskanada Mountains, as well as some quite spectacular valleys in Latmark.
Dravo brought up some videos on the screen and swiped through a number of them quickly.
The south pole of our planet features an even cooler, rugged terrain in Antarctica. There is quite a scenic, albeit wind-swept bridge connecting the mainland of Kureland to Antarctica, where you can watch thousands of water species in their natural habitat.
We are also interested in taking pictures of food,
said one of the aliens.
And drink,
said the other.
This can be arranged. We can organize tours to our most lauded restaurants in lower temperature areas, and you may even be interested in some degustation establishments where the food is beautifully presented and you can assemble it into other tastes yourself.
The aliens seemed very excited by this idea and flapped their limbs a bit. Dravo resisted the urge to take a step back as flecks of yellow splattered onto his suit and nearby chairs. They would need to remain in their own suits as well when visiting Earth. He was about to point at some of the products on display when a third alien materialized next to him. It tilted its body slightly to the side. Greeting or apology? Dravo took a bigger breath of his suit oxygen. He had a feeling that he was about to receive bad news.
"We are sorry,"
the alien said, its limbs twisting agitatedly. Already? Dravo felt crushed. He'd been in this situation before. A first contact situation that didn't progress due to extreme differences.
May I ask, why?
"Initially, our AI posited that you are a biobomb, but you didn't explode, so we continued to engage with you, surmising that perhaps you are designed this way for another purpose."
Dravo was taken aback. He'd heard that some terrorists decades ago had changed their blood to react at a certain time, exploding them violently enough that shards of their bones could kill for meters around. But he wasn't that kind of person.
I come in peace. I would never re-engineer myself to anything like that.
The alien moved its multiple limbs, its rubbery-looking mouth flexing and releasing puffs of gas in the cold room air, which quickly translated.
However, thanks to your sharing of the biological makeup of many on your world, we see that all of your bio-beings have this biobomb as an integral part of their living processes, an evolutionary trait.
Dravo became nonplussed. Perhaps the translation was wrong.
Please explain. What do you mean by biobomb?
The creature placed a spindly tentacle-like appendage on the meeting computer screen, and an image formed of a human with the organs visible. The alien pointed to just above the waist.
All your creatures carry this danger. Some have larger biobombs than other. We can detect up to 100 milliliters of hydrochloric acid per biobomb, depending on the biobeing. DNA extrapolation suggests the potential for higher levels. This is unacceptable, as it would encourage too much fear in some of our more sensitive citizens.
Dravo frowned. He'd never considered it, but he knew what they were talking about. All animals had this chemical in various quantities, just sitting like a bomb inside their bodies. If the lining holding it ever teared, it would even kill its host. If he was from another world, he'd be worried too.
So,
continued the alien,
we must retract our interest in tourism on your world. You are all too physically dangerous to us too.
But there must be something else we could offer that we could exchange remotely. Art, designs, rare minerals, culture.
The three aliens shuffled together, and the middle one spoke.
We are nearing the end of our existence within this level of space-time. We have done and seen everything possible within this realm. We will enjoy the information you have given us, and we hope you will enjoy that which we have given you. But we are quite fragile beings, and your world is just far too dangerous for us. It is better not to encourage our population to explore this idea, as simulations suggest it would end in a war with your people.
The information, if they could help him read it.
Do you have a device that we can use to read the information that you gave us? Our frequency is slightly different, and we cannot read it on the other side of the wormhole.
The middle alien closed his eyes for a moment and stretched out three of his branches. They intertwined, and a web of yellow slime grew between them. Moments later, the slime separated and became a shimmering spherical blob sitting on the middle branch. The alien pushed the middle branch out to Dravo.
Take this.
Dravo reached out his suited hand, and the sphere slid onto it. He looked at it in amazement. What did the aliens just give him?
This is a step-down device, a bacteriological bloom that projects a catalytic frequency. Simply place this in front of a microwave stream of our information, and the bloom will absorb the higher frequencies, converting the lower frequencies to ones your kind can interpret.
Thank you.
We wish you a safe future.
You too.
Dravo watched the aliens fade away, then quickly held the yellow blob away from him.
AI Level 1 containment with life support for this blob. Then engage the atmosphere scrubbers and microbot cleaners. Include the surface of my suit, too. Keep the cleaners away from the blob.
Yes.
A glass cube materialized on the table, and he quickly placed the blob inside and closed the lid. It shimmered and undulated happily, he assumed, absorbing wavelengths around it. With this yellow blob, the information would be available, and they could open tiers across the galaxy, creating billions of trade routes. And he, Dravo Catalyn, Knight Commander, would be remembered in history as the one that upgraded transmanity. He could retire, travel the world, or just settle somewhere and age disgracefully. Even so, he had to laugh at the absurdity. A super-advanced race ready to transition to a higher level of reality, and yet they couldn't deal with the human race due to a fear of something so small. Who'd have thought aliens could be scared of stomachs?